Welcome to the Undercovers cast. I'm Ben, along with Paul, Tommy, and Jenna. And it feels like this is the first time in forever we had the entire, crew together. So, you know, that's I guess maybe the one positive of today coming off of a loss.
Yeah,
But guys, how's everyone doing today? Tough loss, of course. I
yeah,
guess we'll get into that later. But I mean, it feels like a while since we've had everyone on together, though.
definitely. I'm just glad everybody's back, and yeah, like you said, tough loss. So just frustrated, but I'm getting over it, so it's all good.
I'm doing great. Redid my entire setup behind me. Took about 3 hours.
Yeah, it
But
looks
other
good,
than
Paul.
that, it was great. Just refreshing just to get off this tough loss.
Yeah,
Undercovers reunion, you can call it.
there you go.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
And Jenna, I know it was a tough loss. I guess we'll get into that. I mean, 37-34, the Bills were up by 10 points at half. They're up at 10 points going into the fourth quarter. Josh was great, 420 yards of total offense,
Yeah.
two rushing touchdowns, two passing touchdowns, of course, that one pick. Cook dropped another. He had that miscommunication with Gabe at the end. And this is just another Josh Allen masterclass wasted by this, pitiful defense and bad clock management and bad coaching. Like the Bills had, I mean, they called a timeout to ice the kicker, which they didn't really ice because there's still time left. I mean, typically ice is when they, right before they go to kick, there's no time left in the game, whatever. You waste a timeout or whatever, it doesn't matter because the game's over, you're going into overtime. But with 20 seconds left, 59-yarder, that's really not a spot you ice the kicker. And then not only did the coach use that timeout with 20 seconds left, we've seen Josh do that same situation last year against Detroit, get us in that situation, get us in first down field goal range in one play. We
Yeah,
kneel the ball
we
and
need.
we
That's the frustrating thing about it, Ben. Like I still can't get over that. Like we had 20 seconds in a
yeah,
timeout. They
20
could
seconds and a timeout. Like, we don't trust Josh in that
it.
situation when he's been balling. Like, he was
Yeah.
doing whatever he wanted that game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you have Josh Allen, that's the thing. You have Josh Allen at quarterback. You don't have Case Keenum at quarterback. You don't have Jake Browning at quarterback. And
Yeah.
you have Josh Allen who's proven with time 20 seconds and one timeout. That's more than enough time to draw something up 10
Yep.
yards down the sideline and just chip away. I mean,
Right.
yeah, granted, Tyler Bass missed a couple kicks, but I mean, I still trust him with time running out to hit a 55-yarder.
Right.
I think he could have hit that. Yeah, he missed a few, but I mean, Tyler Bass has shown in the past he can be clutch in those moments. Josh
Yep.
Allen has shown multiple times that he's clutch in those moments. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting back looking at this game, and I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this Bills defensive performance in that first half, holding Jalen Hurts to 4 of 11, 33 yards and one interception in that first half, and
Yep.
holding that holding that team to 99 total offensive yards in that opening half, and then allow 279 in the second half, and allow Jalen Hurts to go had to have 167 passing yards in the second half to shred us to pieces in that second half.
Mm-hmm.
Just plain out dumb coaching. It reminded me of watching Florida on Saturday. It was just flat out dumb coaching by Sean McDermott, and he's also our defensive coordinator, so bad defensive play calling. The Philadelphia, after the first drive on that second half, on their second drive, Philadelphia literally ran 3 pass plays that were the same exact play. Jalen Hurts under center, motion the tight end, and drop it either for 5 yards or go to the deep route, which was 10. And that was the first touchdown of the second half by the Eagles. Just no adjustments and
Yeah.
just
hmm
plain out stupid football.
I mean,
Yeah.
you heard what Jordan Mailata said after the game on how they basically couldn't believe what the Bills were running at the end of that game on defense. Like that's a staple play call for them,
They look
that
confused.
that Hurts run. Like that's their staple play. We gave them a perfect look for that. And
Mm.
that 3rd and 4, you had shades of 13 seconds. You had shades of that Cincinnati playoff loss. We were giving Devonta Smith just so much cushion on 3rd and 4. Like it's not like it's 3rd and 10. Like we basically gave him the sticks right away.
Running that
And
soft spin,
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean,
we were playing so aggressive up until
yeah.
the last 12 minutes of the game when we just went to really soft zone, and then
Mm-hmm.
Hurts just started picking us apart. I mean, there was a situation in that game where I felt like both Micah Hyde and Rasul Douglas could have made a play on a ball, and you know who ended up coming up with the interception? It was Devontae Smith. It was like he intercepted the ball. He stole it right from Hyde and Douglas as they were watching the ball hang in the air. They were waiting for it to come. Instead of making a play on it, Smitty just ran under it and
Yeah.
snatched the ball from them. I mean, obviously, what everyone's gonna mention, and obviously, it should be mentioned, and that's why I'm gonna mention it. But I'm not gonna, you know, necessarily say it falls entirely on the refs, and play the blame game the whole time because I mean, let's be honest, it's a league-wide issue at this point, and I
Oh,
think
for
every
sure.
team can say it. Like it's fair. Like they're affecting these games at this point. Like all these missed calls. I mean, the officiating is brutal. Like that call on Josh when you see a missed Hassan Reddick ripped off Josh's jersey right in front of the official.
Yeah.
They had a missed horse collar tackle that they called a intentional grounding, which led to the Bills missing points. And then you had, maybe a couple missed personal fouls on Diggs, late hits or whatever. And you had a couple, missed holds. They call it ticky tack, illegal contact on Rasul Douglas. But uh, I mean, not a great officiated game, but the Bills still had chances, though. Like, it wasn't on the refs that at the end of the game, the Bills were playing that soft zone. Like, that wasn't on the refs. Like, the Bills had their chances. Josh Allen played a hell of a game. And if they could, what's so frustrating, though, is had they won that game, his name would be front and center in the NBA or MVP conversation today. Everyone would be talking about it on ESPN First Take. Should Josh Allen, be the front runner for MVP after, going into Philly, 450 yards of total offense, 5 touchdowns, being the best player on that field? And I still feel like he showed he was the best player on that field, but
Yeah.
not winning, he's not going to get the credit and praise that he's due because they ultimately didn't win that game.
Right.
You talked about. You talked about the penalties. We'll get into Josh Allen and this horrible feed on the national media today, which was terrifyingly disgusting at times. Just like seeing what they were talking about today, and it just the penalties to me had no effect. In the first half, you could say, well, there was some missed calls, and the Bills probably could have had possibly 27, maybe 30 points, and they're up big. But
Mm.
you flip it to the second half where the Bills only had one penalty called against them
Mm-hmm.
and they gave up 27 points and they were just completely ripped to
No,
shreds.
didn't they give up 30 points in the second half in overtime? Like the final score was what?
I was just counting the third and fourth quarter.
Okay, yeah, but if you count overtime too, though, we gave up 30 points
Right.
in a half
Just
in 5 minutes or maybe 3 or 4 minutes of them having the ball in OT. Call it like we gave up 30 points on defense. Like I know we're missing guys, but like that's more than you want to allow an entire game, and then we're allowing that in a half. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it was a great defensive game plan in the first half. Great. Like, it didn't help. It didn't do anything in the second half. Like, the
Yeah.
defense was non-existent. They couldn't get a single. Like, if they got one critical stop, all they needed was one more critical stop in that second half. and they win that game. They
Yeah.
couldn't do it after Josh Allen again for the third time in 5-6 weeks or whatever. Josh Allen walks off the field with a lead, and his defense lets an opposing offense go right down and score. And
Right.
it's almost been 5 times. Like, we were at that Tampa game, Tommy. I was Jenna, you were at that Giants game, weren't you? I mean, I was at the Giants game too. I was at both those games.
Yeah.
We almost lost those games as well. Like, I
Definitely, yeah.
mean, we're 2-6
Yeah.
in one-score games this season at this
Right.
point. Like,
Right.
you got I mean, I'm not trying to sound like the Bills have no hope because we got 5 games left. I mean, it's not like
We're
the
not
season's over.
mathematically out.
No, we're not mathematically eliminated, except
It's-
we are
know.
a 21% chance to make the playoffs currently, but it's just frustrating seeing
Yeah,
how
it's-
the AFC is this year and knowing
yeah.
what your team is capable of and seeing the talent. Like, we saw how good this team can play. I mean, the Eagles were in the Super Bowl and they're likely to be in it again, if not the NFC Championship game at the least, right? Like, they're a really good team. We went in there and we should have beat them. Like, we thoroughly outplayed them that game. It's just, the second half. And
Yeah.
even I believe it was Joe Marino made this point. Like, the Eagles thoroughly outcoached the Bills in that second half, in every aspect of that game, pretty much. I mean, I guess you could say Brady called a good game. Like, they had one minor blemish, and that was that turnover. Maybe they should have ran the ball a little bit more too earlier, but I mean, they had 500 yards of total offense, 34 points. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think you can have any complaints
That's
about
the game
this
you're supposed to
offense.
win. That's a game when you score 34 points on a team, you think you're going to win that game. 100%.
The Bills.
You know?
You're gonna put this in
But it's
perspective.
just like, it seems like time after time, like in critical game, it just seems like it's been happening like the past 4 years with this team. Like,
Put this
time
in
after time
perspective.
after time after time, like they can never get it right at the end of a game, and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
And Ben, you're right, it's on coaching. So it's like, if I don't think they're gonna fire McDermott because it's like a $40 million buyout or whatever. So I mean, it's just,
I don't know.
they're gonna have to they're just gonna have to live with it and figure out how to win with him.
You know what's even more frustrating? The time of possession. The Bills had the ball for 40 minutes and 30 seconds. The Eagles had the ball for 26 minutes and 53 seconds.
Yeah.
So we
And
possessed
we
the ball.
held them. We had the ball for most of the game, but in those short instances where they did have the ball, they went down and they scored in that second half. So, but in like no time.
That's even worse. They outscored us by that much, and they had the ball for
10
over an
minutes
entire. It was 41-26.
Yeah, about 10, 14 minutes less. They had the
Yeah,
ball.
that's like
Practically double.
That's like an entire quarter, basically, like
Yep.
worth of football. Like,
And special
Listen
teams,
to this. We tripled them in total plays. We had 91 total plays. They only ran 63.
right.
Like, just
that's not
how
tripling,
do
but
you lose a game like that?
Yeah.
that's a lot more.
That's about 30 more plays.
And we outgained
Yeah.
them by 127 yards. Just
Yeah.
like, what
At
are we
one
doing?
point,
We
we
had
were
about
outgaining them 3-1.
2/3 of our plays.
Yeah.
I mean, how many plays did the Giants have, and they won the game? Like, it's crazy. Like, they've only had, I think they had the possession like 12 times in that whole game, and we had it for like you said, like mostly half of that game, and we still lost. And the Giants had it for like 10 maybe 10 drives, and they still won the game. So it's like, I don't know.
We have a comment sitting here. I want to address the comment here.
Mhm.
So Takeo Spikes 5151 says, same issue for the Bills playing these good teams. The level of resistance Josh faces is always much more than what the other opposing QB does.
So you're talking about their defense?
That's what I would take it as.
Yeah, I would take it as that too. Yeah.
And I mean, that's a great point. Like, at the end of games, like, you see Mac Jones, like, everyone was watching that game. Like, at the end of that game, like, in the broadcast, they said this is the first time this offense has done this. This is the first time the offense has done that. It was like week freaking 8 at that point, week 7. Like, And they were doing all this stuff for the first time against the Bills. And mind you, Mac Jones had already gotten benched a couple times. And now since then, he's gotten benched twice more, maybe 3 times more.
Yeah.
I know he's got benched at least 4 times this season, maybe 5 times. And we allowed him to just march down the field on that final drive like he was prime Brady. Like,
Right.
even like Philly is one thing when it's the Super Bowl champs, but this Philly loss wouldn't be as bad if you didn't do this. Against Denver and New England. Like if both those games you found a way to win, I can live with this Philly loss like this. Like we played really well, but the fact of the matter is, this is now the 3rd time in the past like 6-7 games that this has happened where the defense has given up the lead when Josh Allen has given it to them with under 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
You that just flat out just he responded back to us about what he was talking about. He was yes, we play defense like we are up by 40 points when we need a stop.
Yeah.
Just exactly what you just said, Ben. Like there's, for whatever reason, at halftime we're up 17-7 and this Bills team thinks that Philadelphia isn't going to adjust. And like all of a sudden Philadelphia adjusts in that second half, and here comes Philadelphia adjusting, and then Sean McDermott thinks, well, we should be okay. We should be okay. We're just going to continue rushing 4, play our regular 4-2 offense, 4-2, 4-3, whatever defense, and we're just going to hopefully that works and whatever happens. And all Philly did was dink dunk, go up and down this Bills defense like paper. Like there was nothing, like after really the first half, the Bills played, I would say, the best defense they've ever played all season in that first half. It looks like the Bills were going to roll the Eagles based off a couple missed points. We missed 2 field goals in that Cook touchdown. I mean, we're talking probably we're up at least 30-7 at halftime. And I think the discussion we're having today is way much different than what happened in that second half, where just Philadelphia just completely shredded the Buffalo Bills defense, which was, it's ridiculous. It's coaching. And it's like, every time it seems like Sean McDermott in a big game, even against, you could probably say at this point, against a first-year head coach, at whatever point Sean McDermott is going to get out-coached. I mean, he said today about going at his press conference today, he said basically, the thought of going for it, going down the field and try to get that game-winning field goal at the end went through his mind a million times. Why is it going through your mind a million times when you have Josh Allen as your quarterback?
Yeah.
The decision is roll the quarterback out and hopefully and try to get that game-winning field goal and not even play for overtime. Don't even let it go down to a coin flip.
Whose mic is that?
I don't know. But back to my point. It's crazy just to think that with 1 timeout, 20 seconds left, the thought of you going to try to get a game-winning field goal is going through your mind a million times, and you have Josh Allen as your quarterback.
100%. Is that better, by the way? I think that was mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Some reason it kicked me out. I don't know what happened.
I don't know. Streamer is acting wild today.
Yeah,
That's
it
weird.
is acting wild, just like
That
the
is weird.
Bills late game coaching.
Yeah. Like an egg,
Eh,
What do y'all think of special teams? I think special teams has been pretty bad.
it's a disaster. Like,
yeah, it is.
I mean, we're like at this point we're hardly like, I guess maybe you could say the last 2 weeks we're a functioning offense. So we're basically a third of a football team right now. Like, we don't have a functioning special teams unit.
No.
The defense, I mean, I get there's injuries, but you can only use the injury card for so much when you have all this talent, all this depth. Like, I get the Milano loss was big, and like, yes, Dodson is a liability.
Yeah.
Missing Jones hurts, but I mean, you traded for Rasul Douglas. You still, I mean, you drafted Dorian Williams in the 3rd round. Like, you have all of these guys on the defensive line. You should still find ways to generate pressure. And if you're a defensive mastermind and guru, like it's now up to McDermott to, do the job. Like, he has full control. It's his baby now. Like, he should be able to scheme up a defense to put this Bills defense in a situation to win games, and he's not. Like, I mean, you could say you can point blame to Leslie Frazier in other situations, but this year, McDermott has control. So everything is how he wants it, and it's just not working. So, and unless you bring in a new defensive coordinator, I don't really know. Does the defense? I mean, I guess if you get Milano and Jones back, it may look better. But then you get to the playoffs, you play these really good teams. You're still playing this crap coverage, in critical situations. I don't think having 2 great players really masks that up all that much at the end. Like, you get in a shootout, your defense is gassed. You're playing prevent defense. I don't think Matt Milano didn't save you in 13 seconds, right? They threw it right up to him, right? He was covering Kelsey. Like, he was gassed. There was nothing he could do. So, I mean, it's now up to McDermott to, ultimately do the job and answer the bell, and he hasn't done it.
He hasn't, yeah.
When you're succeeding with sending pressure and the Eagles don't have their right tackle healthy or in the game, like, why aren't you sending pressure continuously?
Where's Von Miller been the past 4 weeks? Like, you haven't seen him.
I think he's hindered by the knee brace.
Yeah,
he's not himself.
I watched that one play. Like, I was like, what is he doing? Why is he attacking the center and not the quarterback?
It's because it was a stunt.
No.
It's what defensive linemen do to free up other defensive linemen. It wasn't him just running into the center. He was playing a role.
Gotcha.
I just feel I'm sick and tired of Sean McDermott at press conferences just giving out the same old cliches, like saying we're studying, we will continue to study as a staff, and no one is frustrated as I am. We're working hard to figure it out. How many times are you going to say that? You've been saying that for at least every single time when the Bills go, well, let's use this. 0-6 in overtime. You used this cliche after these types of losses 6 times.
Yep.
When are you going to start saying something different? Choose a different message. Wrap up this defense, offense, whoever, these players with a different message.
Right.
Maybe it's the message that's not getting across to these guys in these moments.
Yeah.
Maybe the message is too close together every time you head into these big games, and they're just whatever happens.
I don't think a message is going to change everything. It's an in-game situation. Like, you're trying to call it situational plays. That comes down to coaching. So it's not I bet the players have heard it time and time again. I'm sure that they know. It's just that McDermott has to listen to himself.
Yeah.
I want to know. He said he thought about this. It was hitting him mentally about going down the field and getting a game-winning touchdown. I want to know what his gut felt like. That his gut feeling in his stomach felt like at that moment. Instead of making the boneheaded decision from mental mistakes in his brain, he thought about it multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just doesn't resonate with me. Just what did his gut feeling feel in that moment?
does, kicking a touchback with 13 seconds left and calling a timeout before the Chiefs, go out to, allowing them to drop a play, after they saw what we're doing on defense. Does that make sense? Does calling a timeout at the end of that Denver game before they go out on defense and we have 12 men on special teams after that, does that make sense? Like, a lot of this stuff, let's be honest, like, I mean, the writing kind of has been on the walls the past couple of years. And I mean, I'm not usually a negative Nancy. I mean, I like to think myself as an optimist, but
Yeah.
I've never been the biggest McDermott guy personally. Like, I appreciate everything he's done for the franchise and organization and getting us where we are now and getting us out from where we were. But there's a point where we're not moving towards where we need to go. We're moving backwards.
Yep. And that hurts
that's
Josh.
scary.
Yeah, that's hurting Josh's development, and it's taking years off him for being elite.
No, it does.
And yeah, you're making good points here. Like, I'm 100% agree with you. Like, it's when's he going to turn the corner? Like, when is he going to turn the corner and win these games that he's supposed to win?
I don't know, because you hear that stat about how there's never been a coach and quarterback combo to ever win a Super Bowl together after not winning one within their first 5 years together. And that's a new head coach quarterback combo. So it's not that Josh Allen can't win a Super Bowl. It's that a head coach and quarterback together have never won a Super Bowl together after being there 5 seasons and not winning one for the first time. So I'm not saying Josh Allen can't win a Super Bowl, but the mathematical odds are that it's very unlikely because it hasn't happened. And then you look at, the road playoff record, the playoff record versus divisional winners. Like, I mean, there's not a lot of good signs, like a lot more negatives.
Sign for McDermott is he 6-0 after the bye? I mean,
honestly, I don't even with the Bills were like 33-2 or something like that. When they face when they score more than 14 points in the first half or something like that, and we just lost. So I don't.
Yeah.
The odds that we.
Yeah, not only that,
I don't know.
The turnover. What was the turnover margin stat? With when we won the turnover battle,
32-1.
Oh yeah, 32-1. Okay, that's what you're thinking of. Okay, yeah, 32-1. Now we're 32-2 when we win the turnover margin. So yeah, you can throw that away because, I mean, it doesn't matter, right, at this point, because you got to produce and win these big games. It's all nice that post Brady you were beating up against, a Brady-less division when the quarterbacks were Mac Jones, Tua, Zach Wilson, etc. But now that these teams are caught up to you, I mean, you've beaten the Chiefs a couple times in the regular season. Great. We have not won a big playoff game in a couple years, right? It's been since that Baltimore playoff game where the Bills, I mean, when was I get, that perfect playoff game was great and everything, but the last time I really had a great feeling that oh man, the Bills may have a shot at doing something, it was that Ravens playoff game, 2021, right? We're going on, it's going to be 3 years since that, and we're moving backwards. We may not even make the playoffs this year. The trajectory is not where it's supposed to go. Now, that being said, I don't think it's totally bleak, because when you have Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs still in his prime, I mean, even Kincaid's looking like he could be a stud. You got Rousseau, Oliver, and, Bernard on defense, Benford. A lot to be excited about on defense still, even if we do lose McDermott. All hope isn't lost. The Bills, I think they just might be in need of a little bit of a retool, and that may not be a bad thing, but I mean, I'm not saying the season is over yet, but it's just concerning when you see these same mistakes by this head coach, Tommy and Paul and Jenna.
I'm with you, man. It's just, yeah, they need to find any sort of way to win this Chiefs game in 2 weeks.
Oh man, they gotta win most of their games.
I mean,
we gotta win all of them.
must win. If they lose this game, you could kiss playoffs goodbye.
Yeah.
One last thing before we head into some college or ranking or 4 playoff teams who we think is going to make it. You know, boneheaded decision. Do you guys think the kicking a field goal in overtime, was a bad coaching mistake, or do you think at that moment in time, get the 3 points and hopefully your defense does something?
I mean, let me kind of ask a follow-up question, to put a spin on that. Did any of you have faith that the defense was going to even stop them to a field goal? Like, I kind of knew that the game was over when we kicked that field goal, to be honest. Like, did anyone think we had a shot at stopping them?
Right?
No,
Because
not
what was
Based
that
off the
down?
last few times,
Fourth,
no.
what was the fourth? It was like 4th and 4,
4th and 7.
4th and 7. I would have went for
I
it.
mean, Josh was hot. He was
Yeah, he
dealing
was
like
hot.
he didn't miss
He was
anything in like that fourth quarter and final drive in OT.
Yeah.
Like 3rd and 9, he threw a piss missile to Davis. Like
Yeah.
Diggs dropped one, whatever. But I mean, he could have even used his legs in that situation. Like it's on Davis. I mean, he should have read, he should have read the defense and knew to go inside. Like he's a veteran receiver, and in that situation, how Josh is blaming it on himself while Davis says it's a communication error. Like that just shows you the leadership out of Josh Allen. But let's move on to the college football playoff talk, because
Do it.
we're not talking any playoffs for the Bills at this point. It's not,
I mean, it was a wild week, and I counted this morning. There was 29 one-score games in college football, across college football on Saturday. So, I mean, there was a lot of fans just sitting at the edge of the couch, hoping their team could win. Guys, college football playoffs. I mean, a lot of random crap stuff happened this weekend. I mean, one-score game. Georgia didn't look like them.
We blew up Texas Tech.
The only bright spot of the weekend from some of these teams, Georgia didn't look like Georgia. Washington didn't look like Washington. Michigan nearly lost to Ohio State. So let's go around. Top 4 is your playoff team. 5 and 6 are the 2 teams you have missing. Ben, you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. Number 1. This might be a little bit of a hot take, but I'm going to stick with it for now. It's not going to be Georgia. I think Georgia showed a little bit of vulnerability. They're still a good team, but I question if they're still the same team with Brock Bowers, their number 1 weapon, a little banged up. They had a little bit of trouble with Georgia Tech. Yeah. So I got Michigan at number 1 after beating the playoff committee's number 2. Yeah. I mean, they'll probably move down to 6 or whatever, but I got Michigan number 1 because I think they're a more complete team overall between offense and defense than Georgia. Number 2, I still got Georgia and those dogs because they still haven't lost in almost 2 years now. And that was a regular season game. So, I mean, they kind of have a date with destiny. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't the last time they lost, it was to Bama in the SEC championship game?
Yeah.
2 years ago?
Correct.
So, I mean, this is another get back. Like, they're going to keep this ship rolling. Bama, they had trouble against Auburn. I know that's a rivalry game. Number 3, I got FSU. They still took care of business. They got a great defense. They've allowed either 52 or 92. I got to do my homework, but I think it's 92. 52 sounds like it's too little for a 12-game season, but they've allowed something like only 92 total points in the second half. Maybe it's 52. It might be 52. It's a pretty unbelievable stat, but I mean, the defense has been balling out in the second half. Like the most points they've allowed in the second half is like 10 points. Right. They got a great pass rush duo, Kalen DeLoach, in there, who's been phenomenal. Like Akeem Dent at safety. Like, I mean, FSU's got a great defense, and even though they lost Jordan Travis, they still got Trey Benson and that great receiving duo. And I mean, Rodemaker played well enough to win the game. So until they lose, like, I gotta keep them at 3. Yeah. And if we're gonna stick to just purely 4 based off of how it sits now, Washington. But if we're going off how I project it to go, Texas. Because I see the Huskies losing a close game to Oregon, but due to strength of schedule and resume, I think Texas is a better team than Oregon. So I have Texas at number 4. At
Okay.
number 5, I have Oregon because it was almost like a coin flip, but they just didn't have the resume of Oregon, so or of Texas, sorry. So Oregon 5, and then 6. I guess Ohio State, just because mathematically Bama's gonna have another loss at this point. I mean, I guess you could also go Washington because they'll have one loss, just being the Huskies too. So Ohio State, Washington, it doesn't matter. I mean, I think Washington could beat Ohio State, so I'll throw Washington at number 6 right now.
Okay. All right. So my top 4 plus the 2 that are likely outside looking in. I got Michigan number 1. I got Georgia number 2. I'm going Washington number 3, and Florida State number 4. And then my 2, I got Texas at 5, Oregon at 6, and Ohio State. Ohio State would be 7 in my opinion.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with either of your guys' list. At one point I was debating throwing Texas at 1 just because of how Michigan, Georgia, Washington, and some of these other teams ahead of Texas played this weekend. Just they all look vulnerable. I think that's how you say it.
Vulnerable.
I'm not butchering words.
I mean, right now my final 4, I picked 3 out of the 4.
Right.
Yeah.
That are alive. Maybe it doesn't happen that way as I picked it, but I mean, that's a pretty good preseason prediction to pick 3 out of the 4 if it does end up, working out that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the 4 teams I got making it at this moment is going to be Michigan at number 1. I mean, I think they're just one of the most complete teams in college football at this moment. They didn't slightly they almost lost to Ohio State. That would have been wild if they lost to Ohio State. Just imagine this college football committee at that moment. 2, I got Georgia. Imagine Georgia losing that game.
Oh,
Oh my, the committee's flipping hairs.
yeah.
At number 3, I have Washington. I think Washington, just Washington in general, their high-powered offense, they're really just working, great offense. Their defense is suspect. They lose, I think, obviously, if they lose, they're out. And I think Oregon takes their spot as the Pac-12 champion, getting rewarded for a playoff spot because I think Bo Nix
getting in.
Who?
Do you think the winner of the Washington Oregon Pac-12 you think that the winner's getting that?
Winner definitely gets in. Bo Nix, one you have to at least reward a conference championship champion at least, because they're both playing well to not make it.
Right.
If you're talking a 12-team playoff next year, both teams make it anyways.
Yeah.
With the conference championship or not.
Yeah.
But I think the winner of that, I think they're playing that championship game for getting into the playoffs.
Right.
At number 4, I got Texas. Texas just by far has won the best win. They went on the road to Bama. They beat Bama. The argument there is, well, Bama wasn't the same team as they are now. Bama almost lost to Auburn, and it took bad defensive coverage by Auburn to win that game. So Texas by far just looked like the best team this weekend. Number 5 is Florida State. I have them out. Wild things can happen. If you watch Saturday's games, wild things in college football can happen. I think they have a chance. They get in if they make their case stronger to get in if they beat Louisville and Charlotte this weekend. And number 6, I have Oregon. Like I said, it's going to be hard to keep the Pac-12 Pac-12 championship winner out of
Yeah.
out of the college football playoff at this point, because both teams are just, playing at an elite level at this point. Bo Nix, you know, other than Jaden, Jaden Daniels
Yep.
of LSU. I think that's his first name.
Yeah,
Not trying to butcher his first
you're-
name at all, but other than his Daniels rushing stats at LSU, that's what's keeping him in the conversation for
Right.
Heisman. Other than that, I think Bo Nix wins Heisman. That also, you can also say, well, that maybe also puts them in a spot where that's why they get into the playoffs, because they're just
Mhm.
that good. Strength of schedule. Your strength of schedule is definitely going to be a case here for any of these teams. You
Yep.
talk about Michigan at this point. If they drop to Iowa this weekend, the chances are they may not make. They may still be in the playoff, but there's a good chance if Oregon wins and Florida State both wins, and Michigan drops, Michigan has a chance to miss the playoffs because of how soft their schedule was. Even
Right.
look at Georgia. Georgia loses to Alabama this weekend.
Mhm.
Their chances of missing the playoffs increases due to the sole fact that their strength of schedule
Feels pretty bad.
isn't great. They played a super soft schedule. Maybe Missouri was probably their best team on their slate of schedule
Yeah.
this year. Tennessee wasn't the same team. Kentucky wasn't the same team. I mean, their non-conference slate was absolutely atrocious.
Struggle with Auburn for a little bit too, and then they struggle with Auburn playing
Right.
off. I
I
think.
mean, they struggled with Georgia Tech this weekend.
Mhm. Mhm.
I just something about Michigan and Georgia just makes me nervous. If they drop,
Right.
they still make it if they lose a game
Yeah.
this
I
on
think
championship
if
weekend,
one of
but
them
the
were to
chances
drop,
increases of missing.
I think if one of them were to drop, it'd be Georgia in my take. I think Michigan's getting in no matter what. I think they're
You
letting.
think Michigan gets in no matter?
I think just because of that Ohio State win. Yeah. I would be worried about Georgia if they lose. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I'd be worried.
Georgia. At this point, I think, I'm sitting here thinking who has a greater chance of missing the playoffs, Michigan or Georgia at this point if they drop this weekend.
Yeah. I think
I'm
Georgia.
actually thinking, yeah, I'm probably thinking Georgia because they're losing to Bama and their strength of schedule at that point.
Yeah.
I think Michigan has a better strength of schedule based off playing Penn State, Ohio State, Iowa this weekend.
Yeah.
They have so many ranked teams on
You
their
gotta
schedule
think
that are
Texas.
still ranked.
You got to think Texas is rooting for Bama here. So
If I'm a Texas fan,
I think if Texas, if Bama beats Georgia, I think Texas gets in.
the idea of this weekend, there was this idea floated around that if Alabama wins the SEC championship, they should get in. I don't think that's valid. I don't think that's a valid argument at all. I don't think Alabama deserves to get into the college football playoff. Maybe an SEC championship gets them a better bowl game, which in my mind, if Georgia drops the SEC championship game, Alabama's probably one of the first two out, and then someone else drops to 7 or 8, where Alabama is going to currently sit. At this point, I don't see Alabama going higher than 7 this week.
Right.
So I think if Bama somehow wins this weekend, they become one of the first two out, and I don't think Georgia would fill in that spot. I think Georgia still has a solid chance of making it, even though they lost. Same thing with Michigan, but just depends on how the rest of the field plays out.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting
It is. It really
with
is.
that Pac-12 championship game being on Friday. That really sets up what the weekend could be in store, because if Washington wins, that's one spot clinched. One of the spots. That's either 3 or 4. Florida State wins and Texas wins. I think you're giving at this point, depending on the SEC championship in Michigan, only one of those teams go through. It's either going to be Texas or Florida State. If
Oh,
they both win, that makes it even more tough on Georgia and Michigan in their championship game. And I think it really comes down to Georgia and Michigan in their championship games, depending on the good thing about it. The SEC championship game comes before the ACC, a few hours before the ACC and Big Ten, so we would know at least what the stakes of that game. But the Big 12 happens at noon, so we will know if Texas beats Oklahoma State, which I think they will. They will beat Oklahoma State at that point.
Mhm.
So if that's that, and Florida State wins, I think the loser of if Michigan loses, I think they're the one out. Actually,
Right.
I think both Georgia and Michigan both have a way out of the
Okay.
college football playoffs. It's slim, but we've seen wild things happen in college football.
Jenna, do you want to do your picks, Jenna? Is Jenna there?
I don't know. Maybe she stepped away for a moment.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So we're just gonna let's see.
Are we gonna
Let's
go
get
over our NFL power rankings for the week, or are we gonna?
Yeah, let's do that
Okay.
as we try to see if when Jenna is going to be back at the moment.
I don't
All
know.
right, let's go. Tommy, you can go first.
Did we lose Ben?
Yeah, Ben had a drop. He had to go.
Okay. Okay. That's cool. Yeah. So my power. Are we doing 1 through 4 or 1 through 5?
1 through 5.
Okay. So my 5th team in the power rankings, I have the Cowboys at 5. I mean, they're on. What are they on, a 4-game winning streak? I think they're on a 4-game winning streak, and they're looking pretty solid right now. I think they maintain at least a top 5 spot in my power rankings. And then I got number 4. This is a tough one. At number 4, I got the Chiefs at number 4.
Mm-hmm.
Their offense has kind of been sluggish the last couple weeks, and like I think they're vulnerable on offense right now. Like I think if you have a good defense, you could stop their offense. So that's why. But even though they still have a good record, like I mean, they're respectable. So they're 4 in my rankings, and then number 3, I got the Baltimore Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
The Baltimore Ravens, like they have a chance to be the best team in the AFC, in my opinion. Like they're falling out. Both like Zay Flowers is unbelievable. Like that pick they got. I mean, he's going to be a star for them for years. So and Lamar Jackson's balling out. Their defense is stepping up. That's why I got the Ravens at 3, and number 2 I got the 49ers at 2. I still think the 49ers are going to be a juggernaut in the NFC.
Mm-hmm.
McCaffrey is balling out. He's still doing his thing, and I think like they're going to be a tough out in the NFC this year. And then number 1, of course, is Philadelphia. I mean, until someone knocks them off,
Mm-hmm.
even though the Jets did, but I still think that was fluky without their right tackle. Yeah. But I mean, they've shown that they can come back down 14 points, down 10 points, and somehow pull out the win. So Eagles are my top spot team right now.
Yeah, I would so hardly agree with you with the Eagles being at the best team in football. I mean, they're 10-1, and they're 10-1 for a reason. Nick Sirianni at this point has a valuable choice, has a chance of, I don't know, maybe he doesn't have a chance.
Yep.
Hold on, I had to sneeze for a minute.
I think you good.
I didn't want to come out. I wasn't going to say he didn't have a chance this season. It wasn't that. Right. But I think Nick Sirianni has a shot at Coach of the Year.
Oh, I agree.
I think he does. He's 10-1. They lost to the their only loss, I think, is coming. It was on the road to the Jets. So I think Nick Sirianni, coming off a Super Bowl loss, has a real shot at a Coach of the Year. Number
Yep.
2, I got the Miami Dolphins. I think Miami, it's just substandard. Their defense has been getting better. They did lose Jalen Phillips, but most of that schedule is going to be where they end up. And I'm going to say this. I think Bills' playoff hopes actually lie in the hands of the Miami Dolphins.
Really? Ooh, okay,
I
really?
think the Bills' playoff hopes lie in the hands of the Miami Dolphins.
Like in
If
terms
the
of winning?
Miami Dolphins somehow drop at least 3 games, maybe a little bit more, or somehow tank the rest of the year.
Oh, you
Not
think?
saying it's going to happen, but at least they drop a few games.
Yeah.
That gives the Bills an opportunity to gain some ground.
Right.
Because if Miami keeps winning and the Bills win, it just stays the same. And it
Yeah.
doesn't happen. Miami has to drop at least a couple of games in order for Week 18 to matter for the division.
Yeah.
I say Miami's right now they're 3 up on the Bills for the division.
Yeah.
They drop 4, the Bills win 4, the Bills have the division.
Right.
Miami drops all 5, Bills win all 5, or at least or go 4-1, the Bills still win the division, and then we're in. I mean, obviously that's a long way out, but I think the ride of the Bills' playoff season hopes this year are in the hands of the Miami
Right.
Dolphins. Number 3, I have the Chiefs. I think great defensively. They're finding their offense.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Andy Reid, the Chiefs, even they Chiefs with the Jags winning, I think they fell to 4, but I think they're back up to 2 now
Right.
with their win on Sunday. Number 4 is the Ravens. Couple blown leads this year for the Ravens. Their defense is still, it's starting to become suspect to me in a way, but I think their offense with Todd Monken is just proven to be working at this point. And at 5, I have the Lions. They're not looking good right now on offense, but man, their defense is still one of the best in the business.
Yep.
They did lose Thanksgiving. Their offense is not the way it was running in the first game of the year, first few weeks of the season. But I think, with Eagles being 10-1, I don't think the shot of being a 1 seed isn't impossible, but it's soon to become impossible. But I think that they still have a shot at the 1 seed at that point of the season.
I like your rankings, Paul. Good job with the rankings. Good job.
All right, thank you. All right, let's head into our weekly game picks.
All right.
This is a fun little thing we like to do each week. Records at the bottom of the screen. Right now, Tommy, you're starting to run away with it.
Oh, really?
Oh, wait, no, you're not.
No, I think me and you were tied, right? Me and you were tied, right?
Yeah, 39 and 20. I don't think those ever saved.
Oh,
never mind. I think those rankings are frauded. A minute, hold on.
Oh, they're not right. Those aren't right.
Yeah, those are not right for some reason. StreamYard, as we noted. So take those out.
Oh, okay.
Right now.
So do you have the current standing?
I do have the current, and you were running away with them. That's why I was saying.
Oh,
and
okay.
it looked the same. Yeah, well, you're not running away with it. Actually,
Okay.
I'm still in first place at 46 and 27. Tommy 45 and 28.
Okay.
Jenna at 32. Sorry, at 39 and 32, and Ben at 46 and 27.
Okay.
So it's still pretty tight. All right,
Yeah,
let's go into our first game. Ben did have a run, but he did tell me his game picks. We'll get to his before I do mine. Tommy, who do you have in the Seattle game this Thursday night?
At Dallas, I'm going to give the edge to Dallas here. I think, like I said, they're pretty much unstoppable at home. They've balled out in front of their home team. Dak has been pretty good playing under his home lights, and I think the Cowboys win. I think this is a 2-score, like they win at least 2 scores.
Yeah. I think Dallas, as hard as it for it to me to say, I think Dallas does win this game.
Hmm.
I mean, their defense is great. Don't really trust much in Geno Smith
Right.
as of late. It seems like he is. He was rumored to be injured. I don't know if he's still dealing with some sort of
I think
injury.
he's got something. He's nagging
Right.
and got something.
Yeah, he's nagging something. Give me the Dallas Cowboys. Ben
Mhm.
also runs with the Dallas Cowboys. Hopefully Jenna's back by the end of the show, but that's to be right. Second selection of the night will be, how about Tennessee? This is an interesting game because Bills playoffs implications matter in this game with the Colts. It's in it's in Tennessee. Big game. Will Levis hasn't looked like the same Will Levis as he did in the first game as a rookie coming in for Ryan Tannehill. What do you got?
This game, I'm not liking Tennessee's offense. Really. I'm liking what the Colts have been doing. So you know what? Give me the Colts on the road. I think they find a way with Minshew. I mean, they still have Jonathan Taylor running the ball. I don't trust Levis in a game like this. Like the Colts defense has been they've stepped up in the last couple games. So give me the Colts.
Yeah, the Colts have stepped up over the last few games. At this point, you know, coming down the wire, the Bills are 6-6. They needed again to drop a couple because
I just
even
see
though
this.
Bills are 6-6, the playoff implications in this match, really defer. And then in the wild in the hunt
Yeah.
category, I still think Indianapolis will win this game.
Yeah.
The Tennessee Titans are a different team. They played all right this weekend. I think they were facing Tennessee, I believe. Yeah, they were facing Tennessee was facing Carolina, but
Uh-huh.
Tennessee did win. But Ben also has the Titans in this game.
Okay.
But this might be a shootout in Houston.
Okay.
Houston will host Russell Wilson in the red hot Denver Broncos.
Ooh.
Coming off this also is huge because Houston did drop to the Jaguars this weekend by a couple missed field goals. Houston trying to make the playoffs. I really like this Houston team. Before I give who I want to take, who do you got?
This game, Houston's at home, right?
Houston is at home.
I think they bounced back and they gave Russell Wilson the loss. I think Houston, like C.J. Stroud, still going on this unbelievable rookie season. I think he's going to ball out. Denver's just they're not going to have the offense to keep up. I don't think with Houston, even though Houston does have a weaker defense. I still think Houston gets it done at home. Give me Houston.
Their field goal kicker can't kick for his life.
Yeah.
Just they win that game if their kicker decides to kick one through the rights at least once.
Right.
Once it ties the game, at least you have a chance in overtime to win the coin toss, go down for the winning touchdown. Is the scary thing with this game because I feel like it's going to be one of those games again. As much as I've picked Houston in the past, I'm not going to choose them this time. Give me the Denver Broncos.
Okay.
Because I just don't feel, CJ Stroud is going to get his job done with Tank Dell and some of his receivers. I just don't know if this defense is going to hold down Denver's offense with Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. And I don't think their kicker makes many of their kicks as they need to. Mistakes for this young Houston team is going to be a problem against Sean Payton. Give me the Denver Broncos.
Expect that
in this game.
Yep.
Maybe this game may turn into a complete shootout, or this could be a defensive showdown.
Okay.
Out in the land of brotherly shove. The Eagles hosting the Niners. This game could go either way. Really, implications here is who could get the 1 seed in the NFC. The Eagles win. They're on their way with going 11-1.
And it's in Philly. This is in Philly, right?
It's in Philly.
You know what? I'm with the Eagles. Fly Eagles fly with this one. I think Jalen Hurts gets this done. I mean, they beat them in the conference championship last year. They were at home, they were in San Francisco, right?
It was in Philly.
Oh, it wasn't Philly. It wasn't Philly. Okay. Well, yeah, they've been having good luck then in Philly. So like, I think Hurts and Swift and the receivers AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, I think they go off on this 49ers defense, and I'm liking the Eagles right now. So give me the Eagles.
Ben has the 49ers. Ben also took the Denver game. Denver in the Houston game, the pick before. Forgot to mention his pick. I'm going to take Philadelphia in this game, just based off what they showed me last week. Brock Purdy, I don't know. He struggles, against this Philadelphia defense, and this Philly team has shown that they can adjust at any given moment. I mean, the 49ers, maybe they're also going to be playing with a lot of passion because they want that 1 seed as well. But I think Philly, is going to be a little too much. I think this game is going to start slow. It's going to pick up in the second half, just like the Bills game. This could turn into a fun game in the 425 slate.
Yep.
Sunday night football heads to Lambeau Field. Jordan Love against Patrick Mahomes. Maybe in 2 years, this could be a lights out matchup where both teams are scoring 45 points and giving us a show. What do you feel like this leans to?
This one, I'm leaning Kansas City here, just because they had Patrick Mahomes. I'm taking Patrick Mahomes all day over Jordan Love. I think they get it done. Kelsey, I think Kelsey's gonna have another good game this week. I don't think the Packers are gonna have enough offense to keep up with Kansas City. I mean, and they have a really good Kansas City has a really good defense. I think they're gonna hold Jordan Love to under 20 points, I think. So give me Kansas City in this one.
Ben has Kansas City. Give me the upset this week.
Ooh, okay.
Give me Green Bay. It feels like we've been staying streamlined this. Well, yeah, we've probably been staying streamlined. Give me an upset. There has to be an upset hidden in one of these times. I think the clever upset happens at Lambeau Field with Jordan Love and the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's get through this one really quick because Monday Night Football is right around the corner.
Gotcha.
Speaking of Monday Night Football, this is the Monday Night Football game next week. Bengals on the road to Jacksonville.
Okay. This one, give me the Jags. I don't trust Browning after that horrible showing against the Steelers this past weekend. I mean, he had some really lucky catches, like one from their slot receiver and one from Jamar Chase. Like I don't trust them in games like this. Like give me Lawrence and the Jaguars.
Give me Lawrence and the Jaguars too. The Bengals are going to fall off without Joe Burrow.
Yep.
Just imagine a Kansas City Houston AFC Championship.
Wow.
Just imagine that for a minute. That's the time we are living in. Thanks for you guys tuning in. Tough game after a terrible loss. Against Eagles. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you are enjoying this. Also retweet, and follow us on Twitter. We are consistently, trying to post out content on our Undercovers Twitter. Also check out our host's Twitter as well. For their stats and analysis during each game as well. Tune into the Basement Podcast on Thursday with Matt and Pat. More on this and more on this game and some things they might need to do during the bye week because the Bills don't play this weekend, which could be the hardest thing about losing to the Eagles. They cannot bounce back this weekend.
The only positive about the bye week, Paul, is that McDermott is 6-0 after the bye, so maybe there's some hope after the bye.
Maybe there is some hope. That's only one game after the bye. I mean, that makes you 7-6. You still got to run the table. The rest of the way. Go enjoy Monday Night Football because that
Yeah.
is about to start. That's Bears Vikings. I don't know what that game will look like toward the
It has
end.
kicked off already, and the Bears
Oh.
have the. Yep. They're
All
currently.
right, so thanks
well.
for watching again. Subscribe, like, follow,
Thank you,
and
guys.
see you next week.
Go Bills.